Welcome back. Let's take you to Bloemfontein now, where a key witness has conceded that he was wrong for stating that the Gupta family were co-signatories on the bank accounts of the Islandsite Investment company. It was here that R500 million flowed between November 2011 and July 2012. In his financial report before court, Hawk's senior financial investigator Tessimonies stated that Atul and Rajesh Gupta along with their wives, were co-signatories in the bank accounts of Islandsite Investment that's implicated in fraud and money laundering. Let's go to our reporter, Moloko Moloto, who's tracking the story for us in the High Court in Bloemfontein. Moloko, what's happened in court so far? So many legs are growing around this particular case.
Well, hi, Masora Shara. Well, just maybe to recap, yesterday this witness, Mr. Tessimonies, who is a senior financial investigator within the NPA's investigating directorate, took to the witness stand, and he was really detailing his financial report that of the investigation he has done. And it was then when we actually saw that money amounting to R500 million actually flowed within the bank account of Islandsite Investment, a company under the directorship of the Gupta brothers, Atul, Rajesh, their wives, Chetali, as well as RT. Now, that money obviously came from various sources, and the R9 million which came from the Department of Free State Department all the way to that company. Initially, it went into Nulane Investment and went into another company called Prahat, and finally it found itself inside the bank account of Islandsite. Now, that was during information that was revealed during the evidence in chief that was led by the state. Today, obviously, it was a time for cross-examination by the defense lawyers. So it started then with Mike Helens, who represents the Islandsite, as well as accused number 8, Ronika Raghavan, who is also, starting from 2016, has now become director of Islandsite. And Mr. Helens was basically saying to Mr. Ramkwetsana that you did state, as a matter of fact, that the Gupta brothers, together with their wives, were signatories in the bank account of Islandsite, and that is not true. And Mr. Helens took the witness through his entire report, including the annexures, the bank statements and other relevant documents, and ultimately Mr. Ramkwetsana admitted that he was wrong. And I assume that perhaps Mr. Mike Helens wanted to prove that to the court that Mr. Ramkwetsana cannot be trusted as a credible financial investigator there, because during the cross-examination that was done by other defense lawyers, we have heard how they tried to attack the credibility and the independence of Mr. Ramkwetsana, whom they say that actually he approached that particular investigation already with a predetermined outcomes. For instance, we heard Kenny Aldwedge, who represents Danish Patel, an employee of Nulane Investment, who is also accused number 6 in this particular trial. And he was saying to him, to Ramkwetsana, that you were part of the investigators, people who interviewed some of the witnesses who came even before this particular court. And initially, Mr. Ramkwetsana said that he was not part of the interviews. All he did was that when the lead investigator from the Hawks was interviewing those witnesses, his role was limited to typing the statement, which he later sent to those particular witnesses, and they considered that they agreed with the contents, and it was taken to the police station for commissioner of oath. However, when he was pressed, he ultimately admitted that his role was not really limited to just being a typist, that he was part of the interviews. And it was on that note when the defense said to him that you were not independent, because your role was not to go into the criminal matter. You were supposed, according to your confession, you were supposed to stick to into the financial issues. Another thing which Mr. Rankwetsana admitted was that it was not his space, it was not his role to investigate money laundering. He was only limited to only looking at how money was moving in that regard. Of course, now the court is on lunchtime break. It's expected that Mr. Helens is going to continue with the cross-examination of Mr. Rankwetsana.
All right, Moloko Moloto, live with that report from the High Court in Bloemfontein. It looks like quite a lot of legs are growing around the people who did wrongdoing in that particular case. Moloko Moloto, live for us there in Bloemfontein.